going on, Jerome's? Happy Sunday. It is literally a beautiful day. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. So, Baker Mayfield. All right, I've said that the only scenario where I wouldn't really be happy with the Vikings in the quarterback position this offseason is if the Vikings give Baker Mayfield like $40 million per year and don't draft a quarterback and just like, it'll work out. Right. But Baker's polarizing, but frankly, I find him entertaining. I think that he is a good leader. I think he's freaking hilarious, right? All that stuff. But, Baker has been a bit of a journeyman ever since being the number one overall pick by the Browns. But ESPN's Jeremy Fowler does list the Vikings as a dark horse for where Baker Mayfield could end up in free agency. This is what he wrote this morning. One more thought. While Cousins is undoubtedly the top option should he leave Minnesota, Mayfield is clearly the number 2 free agent passer. It wouldn't be a shock if the Vikings got involved should Cousins leave. Now, there's going to be lots of suitors for Baker. Could run it back with the Buccaneers, where he's found some success, and the fan base seems to love him. And also basically just go wherever Kirk doesn't go. Maybe Pittsburgh, maybe New England, etc. But Baker, Spot Rack estimates him at $27.1 million per year. I think PFF estimated him at $30 million per year. So Baker, I see Baker as like an upgraded Case Keenum. He's a little bit shorter. He's a little bit of a spark plug. Has a decent arm, not a huge arm, but he is incredibly streaky. Like he's definitely a streak shooter. And things didn't work out in Cleveland for a myriad of reasons. Although he's played better than Deshaun Watson, who they traded up heaven and earth to go get, and also gave him a fully guaranteed deal. But neither here nor there. But it didn't work out in Carolina. He had a nice flash in the pan with the Rams. It got him the Buccaneers contract, and he was frankly very solid last year. Right, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, Baker's going to be 29 soon, and if the Vikings give him like a 4-year, $120 million deal with like 90 guaranteed, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, if Baker wanted to come here on a short deal, a bit of a prove-it deal, and the Vikings drafted a quarterback, yes, I would be fine with that. But I don't think that's going to happen since he'll have options in free agency, so that's why I don't think that the Vikings would necessarily happen. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I would be here for the jokes. And, if Baker wanted to sign here for like $20 million a year, that would be a piece of cheesecake. Just done. At the NFL Combine this weekend, Xavier Worthy, the speedster wide receiver from Texas, hook 'em baby, broke the 40-yard dash record set by John Ross. And Worthy... So Worthy has had an interesting career. So being a quasi-Texas fan, watched a lot of Xavier Worthy. 12 touchdowns as a freshman back in 2021. Had 1,000 yards receiving last year, but only 5 touchdowns. And it's interesting because it's obviously that he's fast, but like his yards after the catch, it doesn't sync up with necessarily what you saw in the 40-yard dash. Now, I think that he could be a guy that progresses. I think that he could be a guy that becomes a true blue threat at the next level. Also, you look at the other physical freaks with Texas, like, did they just make Quinn Ewers? Like, is Quinn Ewers going to be a disaster this year now that all of his weapons have left? I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, a fast 40, Worthy at 4.21. Now what's great is that he initially ran a 4.25, and a lot of people would have just stood with that. It's like, I'm good. I'll like Blackjack, I'll stay. Stay. But no, he's like, I want to break the record. And then he went out and did it, which is fantastic, man. John Ross had that for a while. Kalon Barnes, a former Vikings legend. Actually, it's still part of the team. It doesn't matter. 4.23. CJ2K, back in the day, 4.24. DJ Turner last year. Tariq Woolen a couple of years ago. You remember Dree Archer from back in the day out of Kent State? Thought it was going to be something, man. But also, unfortunately, at the Combine. So, Bucky Irving, former Gopher, had some great success at Oregon. He's 5'9", $190, and you were just hoping for a decent showing at the Combine, and maybe Bucky works his way into day 2. But, 4.56, 40, 29.5-inch vertical jump, under 10 feet in the broad jump, and, I don't think the Combine is the be-all, end-all, and Bucky does show a very good speed on tape, but this doesn't help things. Right? And well, it could be good because I think Bucky Irving is going to be great at the next level. I mean, maybe the Vikings get him in the 5th, 6th round now, or maybe even later. And it's sort of a spot where you guys remember J.J. Taylor coming out of Arizona a hot second ago, where I really liked him as sort of a scat back. but it didn't test great, and then he probably would have been a late day 3 pick, but then went undrafted, ended up by the Patriots. That could be it with Bucky Irving this time around as well. And speaking of the combine, so Indianapolis is fantastic. So it's a central location. They've had the combine there since '87, so all of the logistics are already built in, all the institutional knowledge of how to operate, and also they've had workers that have worked the combine for years and decades at this point. It's a great location because it's downtown. You have the hotels, you have restaurants, you have all that stuff for all the NFL coaches and scouts and decision makers coming in. So Indianapolis is great. And so combine, the term combine, like, it doesn't come from like a tractor. Like, it literally used to be scouts from around the area from the various different teams got together and they combined their knowledge of the prospects. That's where the word comes from. Entomology podcast coming soon. And it was Hank Stram Tech Stram. No, we don't like Hank Stram. We like Tech Stram. But back in the day, they decided, hey, let's get all the teams together and we can share some of the scouting data. And then it went to Indianapolis in 1987 because it was literally the middle of the country. I mean, air travel wasn't like it is today. So it's hilarious that's how Indianapolis ended up with it. But it was a great downtown area. It was at the RCA Dome initially, Lucas Oil Stadium since. And, I mean, it's been really, really fantastic. But reportedly, Paul Kuharski is very dialed in with the Tennessee Titans. Nashville could be in the mix to host the combine. Now, their lease with Indianapolis runs through 2025, and then it's up in the air. Right? And Vegas, Minneapolis, Phoenix also part of the meeting of potential other host sites. Now, I for one want to keep it in Indianapolis. Like, I don't see the upside of moving it around. Like, yeah, some fans attend the combine, but I mean, they're not selling out the stadium. Much more people just watch it on TV. Hell, a lot of the head coaches just watch it on TV. So this isn't like the draft. The draft where you're literally reading 250 plus names and you get 500,000 people coming to a city. It's crazy. But this isn't going to have the draw of the draft. It just isn't, right? So I don't see the upside there. Plus, yeah, Minneapolis would be great because Minneapolis is a lot like Indianapolis, where the stadium is downtown, centralized. You have the hotels, you have the infrastructure for doing the medical checks. You have all the restaurants and bars and stuff. So yes, Minneapolis would make sense. Nashville, to a degree, would make sense too. Nashville Stadium is downtown, other side of the river, but you're good to go. But Vegas, I understand it's Vegas and you're on the strip, but Phoenix, absolutely not, because their stadium is in the middle of nowhere. So I just don't move it. I feel like sometimes the NFL breaks things just to break things. Like, if it's not broke, break it. No, it's perfectly fine in Indianapolis, but if Minneapolis got into the rotation where it's like Indianapolis 2 years in a row, Minneapolis, then I don't know, Nashville, maybe New Orleans. No, it's got to be a city where the stadium is centrally located downtown. That's what it's got to be, man. Something that's got to be is Daniil's got to be paid, and he certainly will this offseason, but whether it's here or somewhere else, that's TBD. Per Persuasion, the Vikings have made an effort to re-sign Daniil Hunter, according to Dan Graziano, ESPN. However, teams are expecting Hunter to be searching for something well north of $20 million per year per Jeremy Fowler, which is the market rate. And I wouldn't be shocked if Daniil ends up getting $24-25 million per season. Talk about Myles Garrett type money when it's all said and done. Rashawn Gary type money, Marta Sweat type money. So that's where we're currently at. And gut feeling right now, I think that Kirk Cousins and Daniil Hunter leave. Yeah, I think that's where we're currently. I think Hunter's a near lock to leave, because even though Daniil's been great for the Vikings, I think the Vikings, outside of Kirk, want a clean slate and complete refresh. And Harrison Smith is probably gone too, so a complete purging of all the veterans on that defense, from the great Zimmer days. But Daniil has some good football left in him. But I don't know, would you be willing to give Daniil 25-30 million per year on a 3-4 year deal when he's going to be 30 in October? I don't know. I see the hesitation, even though I will always love me some Daniil Hunter. Lastly, wrapping up some combine thoughts. Brett Coleman the guru of the film, really good insight on some of the quarterbacks last night. Random combine musings while I'm on my flight home. Number one, J.J. McCarthy added weight is real. Zero size concerns for me. So McCarthy, 6'3", just a shade under 6'3". Now, he was listed at 202, 203 for Michigan, and that was a concern, but he weighed in at 219. Now, the initial thinking was, okay, he just bulked up for the weigh-in, and he won't throw, just like Bryce Young last year, where, Bryce Young plays at like 185, and then he weighed in at the combine at 204, and then he didn't throw because, obviously he's not going to throw because he's got all that water weight, and he's probably holding in a poop. That's what's happening, man. And McCarthy, he's tall, he's a little bit lanky, but does need to add some size to his frame, so hopefully he can still grow and show into that. And remember, he just turned 21. Also interviewed extremely well, but that isn't a surprise. Penix and Pratt can spin it. Michael Pratt, the four-year starter from Tulane. Both of them throw such an easy ball to catch. The wide receivers love them. And I feel like Michael Pratt's been sort of overshadowed by some of his more heralded quarterback brethren. But he's got a good arm. He can move. Multi-year starter for Tulane. And he's a bit of like a Kevin O'Connell clone coming out of San Diego State. It's kind of funny, man. Number three, ball just wasn't coming off Bo Nix's hand that well. Didn't have the same jump as J.J. Penix and Pratt. Maybe just wasn't feeling it yesterday. And that's the concern with Nix. I understand he has huge black and white box score stats, and I know that he gets the ball out quick, and I know that he's very good in 10 yards and closer. But once you get past that, that ball does sail. And especially if he ends up in a cold weather division, which the Vikings are, even though they play their home games inside. And also, Detroit's inside, whatever. But I just feel like Nix, he's a heady guy. He's a competitive dude. I think that in the right system, he could succeed. But I just don't see him being a stud. And that's what the Vikings are looking for. I think he'd be hard-pressed, given his vertical limitations, to really be a stud starter in this league. I think that he certainly could be a high-end backup for a number of years. I think that's probably his path and his ceiling, but we'll see. And lastly, number four, Drake May is big. Yeah, so Drake May is all of 6'4". He's all of 223, and maybe he's not built like Josh Allen, but he is a train, and he does have great mobility, which is part of his game. And yes, he takes risks. Yes, he literally is a combination of Justin Herbert and Josh Allen. But I'm intrigued, man. I'm intrigued. But that's it. That is Vikings news dump for this beautiful Sunday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.